Good afternoon and welcome. This is the Tuesday edition of Market View. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Lungilele Makakula. Last night, Mangcoba Khumalo, the Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade, welcomed members of the cooperative movement from South Africa who are visiting the country for an exposure visit. This event highlights the ongoing collaboration and exchange of ideas between the two nations, particularly in the realm of cooperative development and trade practices. This engagement with the South African delegation underscores the importance of fostering strong ties within the region, aiming to enhance trade and cooperative initiatives that can benefit both countries. The minister said in the next 4 years, the ministry will come up with a legislation that will establish the cooperative bank. Stay tuned for this report on our business news segment. And after the news, business journalist Nelsiwe Ndlangamandla sits down with the Director of Energy, Thabile Nkosi, to find out how small-scale businesses can benefit from the Rural Electrification Access Fund, which was established under the Ministry of Natural Resources and Energy in the year 2021. For now, let's go straight to our first story. In the next 4 years, the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade will come up with a legislation that will establish the cooperative bank. This has been said by Minister for Commerce, Industry and Trade, Honorable Mangcoba Khumalo, when welcoming officials from different entities in South Africa on the cooperative exposure visit at Hilton Garden Inn in Babane on Monday evening, when he committed to seeing this legislation through.
The Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade reports that cooperatives in the country have assets close to 3 billion emalangeni. This has made Eswatini to be the best performing countries in the cooperative space in the SADC region, attracting fellow counterparts in South Africa to come and learn more about running cooperatives.
We supported South African cooperators and members of government departments to come to Eswatini to learn from the great achievements Eswatini cooperative sector has made over the last couple of years. The contributions they make to society, the contributions they make to the economy, something which there's a lot of room for development in South Africa.
The Minister for Commerce, Industry and Trade, Honorable Mangcoba Khumalo, says the issue of establishing a cooperatives bank is of utmost importance.
In the next 4 years, I want to see a piece of legislation establishing a cooperative bank in Eswatini. This is something that has to happen. If you know anything about me, one of the things that you should know is I don't measure effort, I measure results. Even though unemployment is still very high, even though poverty is still a scourge in our country, but we are putting in the right foundation because cooperatives are playing a very fundamental role in restructuring our economy and making sure that the trickle-down effect of the efforts of government can be seen and felt by the people.
The president of the National Cooperatives Federation of Eswatini, Sifiso Mhlongo, shares future plans they have for their members.
What we want to do better is the loaning out of the members, because cooperatives, they are not much into profit, but they are much into helping the members to achieve their goals. So that is what we want to achieve. We want our members to be economically and to reach a state where they are financially free.
The National Cooperatives Federation of Eswatini is the umbrella body housing 3 cooperative apex bodies, which are Eswatini Association Savings and Credit Cooperatives, Eswatini Multi-Purpose Cooperative Union, and the Eswatini National Youth Cooperatives Alliance, which have around 90,000 members. For Market View, Nelsiwe Ndlangamandla, Nkosi Nzinisa, Babane.
9 companies are now registered for the Authorized Economic Operator Program since it started in April 2023. This is a program that seeks to streamline and secure trade processes within Eswatini and across the Southern African Customs Union region. Co-chair of the Initial Trade Facilitation Committee, Inati Dlamini, says the authorized economic operator program ensures that that is a significant step towards simplifying customs procedures and facilitating smooth cross-border trade, amongst other things. He was speaking at Happy Valley during the committee's meeting with the Eswatini Revenue Service and a team from SACU on the program.
This is an amazing program which seeks to facilitate cross-border trade seamlessly and effortlessly in order to mitigate the delays that we experience at the border gates. You will be very much well aware that in this country we are an export-led economy, and that's what we pitch ourselves as. And there are a lot of exports that leave this country into the region, and they also importing, and making sure that the borders system is hassle-free. Easier to processing documents is easier, and the AEA program now seeks to say to the private sector, ERS, if we can trust you as a business exporting, we will not stop your truck at the border. The beautiful part of it is that if ERS says, you private sector, I trust your company, that I will not check it through the border. The SARS also in South Africa says, by virtue of that certificate, I too, SARS, trust you. So you see trucks just going through the border up and down without being stopped. It's good. We have certified over 9 companies as we speak. We wish to have more companies join this program. Why? It's because it's going to stop these delays that we're having at the border. What do companies need to do? You need to prove yourself worthy. One, how do you do that? Are you trustworthy? But how do I prove we are trustworthy? ERS will check your records. Have you been declaring for all these years? On time, all the time. And when you declare, is it actually what you write here, what you are carrying in the truck? And have we been checking? Every time we check your truck, was it matching with the document? Yes. So over a long period, let us go look at your books. Do you pay your VAT? Do you pay your custom duties on time? It's a rigorous process. But at the end of the day, if they say, you know what, we think we can trust you, we give you a clearance certificate. And once you get that certificate, SARS in South Africa says, I know you did a rigorous process, the same process which I do at SARS. I too will trust this company. So it's a reciprocal type of arrangement, and it's working very, very well.
It's 8 minutes after 2 and that's it for our business news. Stay tuned, we'll resume shortly.
Be sure to catch Business Watch every Wednesday between 2 p.m. to 3 p.m, where we feature the latest updates on business news, market trends, and exclusive interviews with industry leaders, as well as insights on emerging small and medium enterprises in the commercial sector. Business Watch, your business leader.
Welcome back. You're still watching Market View. This is the Tuesday edition. Thank you for staying with us. Small and medium enterprises and communities have been urged to take advantage of the Rural Electrification Access Fund, which was established under the Ministry of Natural Resources and Energy in the year 2021, where 240 million emalangeni has since been used to bring electricity to businesses, establishments and households in different communities around the country. Business journalist Nelsiwe Ndlangamandla sits down with the Director of Energy, Thabile Nkosi, to find out how small-scale businesses can benefit from this fund.
Thank you so much, Director, for joining us on Market View. Reading through one of your quarterly reports, I learned that there is the Rural Electrification Fund. What is this fund?
Thank you so much. Let me start by confirming government's commitment to ensuring universal access to energy, and the target is the year 2030, and this is in line with our national energy policy. It also is in line with the Sustainable Development Goal number 7, which characterizes the energy access. So the Rural Electrification Access Fund is therefore one of the enablers to the energy access target. And it was established in the year 2021 with the main objective of connecting Eswatini to electricity, especially in the rural areas, whereby extending electricity infrastructure would be very costly for Eswatini, hence the support from the Electrification Access Fund. The fund is financed through an electricity levy of around 5 cents per unit of electricity sold. And I must mention that it is established through the Electricity Act of 2007, and it has got regulations that govern its administration. There is also a committee which you call the Select Committee on Rural Electrification that is responsible for providing an oversight for the fund. The committee is also responsible for approving funding, approving budgets and projects from the fund. The committee is comprised of representatives from the ministry. There is a representative from the Ministry of Finance, representative from the Eswatini Electricity Company, and also a representative from micro projects.
How do communities access this fund, Director?
For communities, what they have to do is to form what we call electricity group schemes. They come together and form the schemes using the community development mechanisms. They will select a chairperson. And what they have to do, which is very important, is that they have to wire their houses. Because for one to access or to receive electricity, the house must be wired. They wire their houses, and then they approach the Eswatini Electricity Company now for a quotation, because they would be applying for funding from the fund or the ministry. So they need to get a quotation from the Eswatini Electricity Company. And then once they have that quotation, they then fill an application form for the funding. So we have that application form available in the ministry, energy department to be specific. But we also have it on our website. So they fill that application form for funding, and they attach the necessary documents, one of which is the quotation, because the quotation is stating how much they are requesting from the fund. The form also requires them to attach a list of the members of the scheme, as well as the scheme, the map that will show the area. This map is prepared by the Eswatini Electricity Company for them. And once they fill that application, they then submit it to the Energy Department. The Energy Department will evaluate the application and will then submit to the committee that is responsible for approving a budget, which is the Select Committee I mentioned, for approval. And then once approved, we then inform the communities through Tinkundla. And we also inform the Eswatini Electricity Company that they should implement these group schemes. We then also provide a budget for the implementation of the schemes. Thank you.
Different studies by the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade Director suggest that most small and medium enterprises are in the rural communities. Do you support businesses in the rural communities in this fund?
Yes, you are on point, Nelly. The form, actually, there is a section that would be asking a listing of the income generating projects. So yes, in my business, I angena, because we are saying we're extending the electricity to the rural communities. We also want that electricity to be used, we call it productive use of electricity, to be used also for businesses. And we're actually encouraging Eswatini to take advantage of the opportunity of also starting businesses because now the electricity is there, which is one of the enablers for businesses.
Is there a certain percentage, Director, that a household or a business has to contribute in order to get support from this fund? I'll make an example. In the RDF, communities contribute a certain amount.
Okay, with the fund, there is no contribution from the households. We fund up to the point of connecting the households. The only thing that the household will need to do will just be to pay it's around 500 emalangeni now for EEC to press on the lights, but there is no contribution whatsoever that they pay.
How many households, Director, including businesses, have you electrified in the past under this fund?
So the fund was operationalized in the year 2021, and since then we have assisted or supported around 11,600 Eswatini in the rural areas connect to electricity. There are businesses that we include, and also other public institutions, for instance, imiphakathi, and if there is a school there, we also include that school. And then in terms of the monetary figure, that money is around 240 million emalangeni that has been dispersed to electrify Eswatini. And I must mention that the 11,600 is for 3 regions, Hoho, Manzini and Lubombo, because Shiselweni is being supported under a World Bank funded program, which is for strengthening the network in the Shiselweni region in terms of the construction of transmission lines, distribution lines, and substations. So government then took a loan under that project to assist the Shiselweni, so that once the network is strengthened, then it should deliver electricity to Eswatini. So under that program for Shiselweni, we've electrified around 5,000 Eswatini.
What are the future plans that the ministry has in terms of increasing the reach of electricity in the country?
Okay, let me mention that we are committed to ensuring universal access. So we'll continue with the grid extension, connecting Eswatini, and we've also introduced now an element of ready boards for those households that you find that they are unable to wire their houses. We assist them with their ready board, because the ready board will replace the wiring so that you are able to connect to electricity. We will also exploring solar home systems, because some of these households are very remote or even inaccessible, making it very difficult to connect them through the normal grid way. So we are exploring the solar home systems for those households we already are working on a pilot project. And also another project that we are doing under our energy efficiency is in terms of the installation of solar water pumping systems for the rural water schemes. On that project, we are working with the Department of Water Affairs. They are the ones that select the rural water schemes, so that we then provide a budget for the installation of solar water pumping systems. So in terms of businesses, when we work on the group schemes, we are encouraging households to include businesses if they are there in that area. And we're also working on another program for mini grid installation or establishments in the rural areas. A mini grid will just be a standalone plant that will electrify that community. It will normally use solar as a source of energy. So that mini grid, we are also working with the Ministry of Commerce, Industry, and Industry under SEDCO for encouraging the communities to come up with small businesses for the productive use of the energy that we would have provided. So we are actually encouraging through the mini grid program Eswatini to also come up with projects.
What you are doing is commendable as a ministry director, but I was hoping that you will tell us that if I'm funded by this scheme, maybe I will pay less units.
Government is only assisting to the extent of connecting you. Then for you to be able to use the electricity, then you must buy the units. But for I wouldn't say those that are not affording, but there is a group, if you use less energy, up to 75 units, then you qualify to fall under a tariff category that is called a lifeline tariff that is lower than the standard tariff. But you must use less electricity. And it is usually those people without many electric appliances. You find that that person does not have a geyser, so does not even use heaters. So those people, they then qualify. Is a way of trying to assist everyone afford the electricity.
Director, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. We hope small and medium enterprises will also take advantage of this opportunity so that they can benefit under the fund.
All right, so that was business journalist Nelsie Ndlamadla having a conversation with Director Tabile Nkosi on the Rural Electrification Fund. We'll go for an ad break. When we come back, we are joined by Sanela Sbia via Zoom.
sabatandi ukuthi njengalokhu sivile sive sikhulume
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. It's 22 minutes after 2. This is our last segment for today's program. We're now joined by Sanela Sbia, in-house economist for today's market analysis. A very good afternoon, Mr. Sbia. Thank you for joining us. Let's start looking at international markets, starting off in the U.S. What is the reaction of investors regarding the escalating tensions between Russia and Ukraine?
Thank you, Lou, and good afternoon to you and the viewers. So what we are seeing in the US is, we're seeing the bulls leaving Wall Street a bit just to try and stave off these uncertainties. So what is happening in Russia and Ukraine has actually brought back certainty and risk pricing into the market, such that if you look at the futures market, you can see that the futures are opening a bit lower today. But when you're looking at the indices, you will see that the Dow Jones Industrial Average actually closed lower on the negative, losing some 55.39 points there. So that's actually on the background of the escalation within Russia and Ukraine. And also what we're seeing happening with NVIDIA, NVIDIA is one of the tech stocks that we are watching, and the ones that are going to make us money this year. So what has happened there is that the company has gone through what one would call an overheating phase, where their conductors seem to be overheating, and their servers are not functioning well. So we're hoping that's going to come back and really stabilizing the markets. But we're seeing Tesla and other Trump-led and Trump-related, Trump mask-related stocks are surging a bit. That's why we're seeing the Nasdaq Composite Index staying on the negative, on the positive. Same thing with the S&P 500 staying on the positive. But when you look at the numbers, you will see that we have shifted from those all highs to basically levels where we're somehow used to, with a bit of normalization. and the uncertainty around the Russia and Ukraine, and we are actually worried, and we are watching to see how President Putin is actually going to respond to America allowing Ukraine to actually use American supplied long range missiles to attack targets right within Russia. So we just are worried if that is going to escalate. So when you look at those worries, you can see that in Europe, because that war is right on the doorstep of Europe, it's right on the doorstep of the Euro region. You can see that the markets there today are not really performing well. They're all losing significantly, with the FTSE 100 losing some 0.49 percentage points, and with the CACA also losing around 1.35%. And you will see that when you look into the Eurozone, the losses are a bit much, purely because it's an issue of the tariffs that are going to come. There's the uncertainty around that. And now the Russia-Ukraine war is actually on the doorstep of the Eurozone, and the escalations there can be felt much more compared to when you're looking at just across the pond in the US. So we don't know what the response will be. So we are just waiting to see whether we are going to have rhetoric, as Putin has been constantly saying, or we're going to see some true escalation, and God help us, it does not get to a nuclear war. And then when you come into Japan, you see that Japan is trading somewhat on the positive, but still the numbers are below the numbers that we were seeing yesterday. So there is that uncertainty around Russia, Ukraine, and there is also that uncertainty around the demand in China and the output. And then there's also uncertainty right now around what the Trump presidency means. But overall, you will see that Asia traded a bit on the positive. And what we are hoping to see happen in China, more especially in the mainland, is the fact that China is somewhat expected to keep their rates on the same, so that they try and bolster demand. Again, when we come to South Africa, you'll see that South Africa is benefiting on that background, on that rise of the dollar, of gold against those uncertainties. And also we've seen that positive rating coming out for South Africa. So markets are responding to that, but they still remain cautious as we are waiting to get clearer understanding in terms of where the markets are going to go. So we're still waiting to see how the Feds are going to fare. We are still waiting to see how the tech stocks are going to perform. And we are still waiting for broader policy decisions to be tabled by the Trump presidency. So the markets remain cautious as we look at all of those moving parts, and the geopolitical landscape has actually gotten a bit more volatile given the Russia-Ukraine tensions. But we're seeing that positive within the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. Coming to domestic markets, stocks remain muted in the Eswatini Stock Exchange. And then when we're moving into currencies, into commodities first, gold is actually benefiting on those uncertainties around the Russia-Ukraine war. We're seeing markets shift assets we're seeing that shift into into safe haven assets. We're seeing gold benefiting on that because that uncertainty, the markets are not sure what's going to happen on that Russia-Ukraine type of situation. And that has also filtered into the price of oil. We saw it rising a bit in early morning trade, but stabilizing right now. But oil is the one to look out for, because we know that Norway has said they're going to stop mining, or they're going to stop drilling for a while. So there are going to be supply concerns there. And, we know what's happening within the Middle East. We know Israel has come out to say that regardless of whatever happens, they're not going to stop the onslaught on Hamas. Even if a ceasefire deal is reached, they are still going to continue to try and drive out Hamas out of Israel. So oil is the one to watch out for to see if that volatility will return to the markets if we see the US failing to come up with a ceasefire deal there. But when we're coming into currencies, you will see that the domestic currency gained against the dollar and the euro. That's purely because of those interests of those Russia-Ukraine tensions and that shift from into safe haven assets like gold and bonds, so that has somehow dampened demand against on the dollar. Same thing on the euro. The fact that that tension is on their doorstep. And then when you look into Japan, the Langeni lost a bit of ground there. That's because the Japanese bank is trying all by its all level best to show up the Japanese yen. Thank you, Lou.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Beer, for today's market analysis. We've come to the end of Market View this Tuesday afternoon. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you again tomorrow at exactly 2 p.m. If you've just joined us, worry not, you can still watch this episode on our YouTube page. We are at Eswatini TV. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you tomorrow.